Thank you and welcome to our online engagement event for the Evergreen Neighborhood Traffic Review. My name is Natalie Bode and I'm the Senior Transportation Engineer responsible for the Neighborhood Traffic Portfolio. I'm joined tonight by Chelsea Lanning, the Project Manager for the Neighborhood Traffic Review. And Katie is also joining us tonight. She's another member of the Neighborhood Traffic Review team, and she'll be helping us behind the scenes to display materials and manage the question and answer forum. We look forward to working with you to address traffic issues in your neighborhood. Please note that our meeting tonight will be recorded and posted to the Engage page for the Evergreen Neighborhood Traffic Review. This will allow anyone who was unable to attend tonight to watch the video and let us know if they have any comments on our draft traffic plan. To ensure that our meeting runs smoothly tonight and minimize technical difficulties in audio, we ask that you please type your comments in the question and answer box and I will read them out during the meeting. I apologize in advance if you experience any delays with your video stream. Sometimes our internet bandwidth is not what it should be. So if you want to, it can help to turn on your closed captioning. It can help you follow along with what we're saying. If you've joined us tonight on a smartphone, it can sometimes queue up the recording video while you're typing your comments. So it may cause you to be out of sync with the rest of the meeting, just to give you that heads up. If you're unable to type your comments in the question and answer box, or if you have any technical issues during the meeting, please reach out to us through one of our other engagement methods to submit your traffic calming concerns. We have options for email, phone, an online survey, letters, the Report a Traffic Issue app, and our Engage page forum. And we can provide details on those a little bit later in the meeting, or you may have seen them already on the Engage page. Hopefully some of you have had a chance to watch our video series, which contains some valuable information about the neighborhood traffic review process, how we collect and analyze the traffic data, and various topics that often come up during our neighborhood traffic reviews and how we handle those. I encourage you to watch the series if you want to learn more, because we just don't have time tonight to go through all of that. Our focus for this evening's meeting is to hear from you and your neighbors on our draft traffic plan. So we heard your concerns from our first meeting, and now we're making some recommendations, and hopefully we hear from you. So tonight we have a small and mighty group. We only have a few of you signed into the meeting right now, and hopefully we get more comments from others in some of the other methods. So please help us represent your neighbors and give us your feedback. Before I begin, I would like to make a couple of introductions. So we have tonight joining us is Councillor Zach Jeffries. He's your council representative for Ward 10. Councillor Jeffries, I'm so glad you could make it tonight. Did you have any comments you would like to share with the group?
Just very briefly, Natalie, just to say thank you to you and your team for the work that you've done to get the neighborhood traffic review together and to this point. I know that it is not just something that someone can kind of do on the side of their desk in a couple of hours. There's lots of neighborhood work and checking stats and data, and then trying to make sure that we make good decisions for the neighborhood as a council once we get the final report here. And just want to give a huge thank you as well to everyone who's joined from Evergreen tonight. I know that now that spring's almost here, sitting in front of your computer probably isn't the #1 thing that you want to be doing tonight, but you're showing that you care about your neighborhood, you care about your neighbors, and that is really delightful to see. So thank you for coming tonight and for engaging earlier in the process. I know there was lots of feedback in the neighborhood in the meeting last summer, as well as over the last number of months, and I spoke with many of you, of course, last fall. So thank you to our team, thank you to folks in Evergreen, and have a good meeting.
Thanks very much, Councillor Jeffries. Also at these meetings, we're often joined by a member of the traffic unit of the Saskatoon Police Service so that they can answer any of your enforcement questions. Unfortunately, Staff Sergeant Trent Emig was unable to join us tonight, but we do have the traffic unit's number. So if you have enforcement questions, you can contact them directly by phone, or you can send them in to us and we'll pass them along. So for tonight's meeting, we'll begin with Chelsea's presentation, which will provide a brief overview of the neighborhood traffic review process, the changes that we propose in the draft traffic plan, and the next steps for the review. Typically, when we have these meetings in person, we discuss the comments in small working groups at tables. And unfortunately, with the pandemic, we can't do that. So we're going to try to replicate that as closely as possible in an online setting. So as Chelsea goes through each recommendation, I will be checking the question and answer forum box to see if you have any comments about that particular recommendation, and we can discuss each one individually as we go along. So Chelsea, I now pass it over to you to begin the presentation.
Thanks, Natalie. Hello, everyone. I see a few more people have hopped on the meeting. That's great to see. My name's Chelsea Lanning, and I'm the project manager for the Evergreen Neighborhood Traffic Review. To start things off, I want to get us oriented with the neighborhood. So the map on your screen shows the study area, which is bound by Fedoric Drive to the north, city limits to the east, U of S lands and Kernan Prairie to the south, and Linear Park to the west. The focus of the neighborhood traffic review is existing traffic concerns on the local and collector streets within those boundaries. Arterial streets such as McGorman Drive and Fedoric Drive are outside of the scope of the neighborhood traffic review. In terms of our progress within the neighborhood traffic review process, we've already completed stages 1 and 2, which involved identifying traffic problems within the neighborhood, collecting data, and developing a draft plan to address those issues. We're now in stage 3, which involves presenting our proposed solution to the public in the form of the draft traffic plan, collecting feedback on the draft traffic plan, making any necessary changes or adjustments to that plan, preparing a report with a final version of the traffic plan, and presenting that final report to the Standing Policy Committee on Transportation. We anticipate that this stage of the schedule will be completed this spring, and I'll discuss the next steps later in the presentation. I'd now like to go over concerns that we heard from residents of the neighborhood during stages 1 and 2 of the process. In terms of speeding and shortcutting through the neighborhood, we heard about concerns on Zari Road, Atten Crescent, Johns Road, Boykowicz Crescent, Baltzen Boulevard, Evergreen Boulevard, and Pohareki Crescent. We also heard concerns about pedestrian safety at Zari Road and Sauer Crescent North, Evergreen Boulevard and Mahabir Crescent, Low Road and Atten Lane, Evergreen Boulevard and Evergreen Square, Evergreen Boulevard and Manic Road South, Johns Road and Rajput Way, Baltzen Boulevard and Boykowicz Crescent, both the east and the south intersections, Baltzen Boulevard and Baltzen Bay, and Baltzen Boulevard and Akhtar Bend. We also heard some concerns regarding traffic safety at the intersections of Manic Road and Glacial Shores Manor, Evergreen Boulevard and Zari Road, Evergreen Boulevard and Glacial Shores Manor North intersection, and Evergreen Boulevard and Low Road traffic circle. We also heard some other concerns regarding parking at several intersections and along several streets. Some concerns were regarding visibility at intersections, and others were about the ability to navigate a narrow street with parking on both sides. Additional traffic operation concerns were raised about the one-way loop on Evergreen Square, and we received a request for a painted yellow center line on Baltzen Boulevard. So another project in the area is the Rectangular Rapid Flashing Beacon, or RRFB pilot project. An RRFB was installed on Low Road south of Atten Crescent. Since that was installed, national guidelines have been developed for the installation of these devices, and it's been determined that the installation on Low Road is not warranted. So the RRFB will be removed and relocated, but the zebra crosswalk will remain. So now we'll talk about what we did. After gathering all of the concerns that I mentioned, we began our data collection program, including a number of site visits to gather field observations and road conditions and traffic patterns. We did traffic volume counts and speed studies at 11 locations within the neighborhood. We also did intersection and pedestrian counts at 7 intersections. And we looked at the collision data for the neighborhood to identify locations with safety concerns. So we used the results of our data collection program to create a draft traffic plan that recommends several changes and improvements to streets within the neighborhood. In the next few slides, I will go over each of the recommendations in detail, but in general, we're proposing a number of improvements such as stop signs, standard and zebra pedestrian crossings, speed display devices, a median island, and pedestrian accessibility ramps. As we go through each recommendation, there will be an opportunity for you to provide feedback by typing your comments into the chat box, and Natalie will be monitoring that chat. So we can start with number 1. Our first recommendation is that the intersection of Zari Road and Sour Crescent North. So here we're proposing a pedestrian ramp on the northeast corner where depressed curb currently exists. And we're also recommending a median island on the north side of the intersection to slow traffic and to increase the visibility of the pedestrian crossing. So it'll look something like the picture shown below. Okay, if we have no comments about that, I'll keep going. The second location. Yeah.
Nothing's come into the chat box yet, so I don't see anything yet. So I think we can move on to the next one. If something comes in, we can come back.
Perfect. So the second location is at the intersection of Glacial Shores Manor and Manic Road. We're proposing converting the yield sign to a stop sign to increase the level of traffic control in the school zone and improve safety. So that yield sign shown in the picture would be converted to a stop sign.
Yeah, so I'm just checking. It might take people a little bit to type things in, but I'm not seeing anything yet.
Okay. So I'll move on to the third recommendation, which is to install a standard crosswalk at the intersection of Baltzen Boulevard and Boykowicz Crescent on the east leg. So just a couple more clicks. Yeah, so it's the south intersection on the east leg of that intersection. And this would provide a connection to the neighborhood pathway network.
Okay, so we've had one question come in, but it's back to recommendation number 1.
Sure.
Someone says they like the Zari Road solution, but they're wondering if the crosswalk will be upgraded to a zebra crossing.
We're just recommending installing a standard crossing at this point, which is the 2 black and white pedestrian signs on both sides of the street and the 2 white pavement markings. We typically reserve installation of zebra crosswalks to our school zones. And the median island that we're installing should help with the visibility of that crosswalk as well.
Okay, I'll just follow up with them, make sure that answered their question.
Okay, and we'll record that in our meeting minutes as well, the request for a zebra crosswalk upgrade. Okay. Maybe we'll move to the next one, Katie. So similarly, the fourth recommendation is to install a standard crosswalk at the intersection of Baltzan Boulevard and Boykowicz Crescent / Marlott Crescent on the north side of that intersection. So this will help to increase the visibility of the pedestrian crossing at this intersection, as well as support a connection to the neighborhood pathway system.
Okay, nothing new in the chat yet.
Okay, we will move to, thank you, Katie, to the fifth recommendation, which is a speed display device facing westbound traffic on Evergreen Boulevard between Kloppenburg Link and Kloppenburg Crescent. An example of what the speed display board looks like is shown on the slide. Speed display boards are installed temporarily since they lose their effectiveness if installed at the same location for too long. This location was one of the only spots where there was speeds measured above the speed limit, so that's why we've went with a speed display device. Your neighbors are really good at following the rules, and we didn't find a ton of issues with speeding in Evergreen, so that's great news.
Yeah, and I believe speeding was only during the school hours, correct,
Yes.
Chelsea?
Yeah, only during the school hours we measured a little bit of speeding, and it wasn't incredibly high, so.
Okay, nothing new's come in the chat yet. We did circulate the meeting invite to the school division so they could forward to the principals and parents as well. So hopefully, hopefully they're happy to see some of the recommendations around the school site here.
Okay, we'll move on to number 6. Thanks, Katie. The sixth recommendation is to install the temporary median island at Evergreen Boulevard and Zari Road permanently on the south leg of the intersection. We're also recommending pedestrian ramps be installed on the northeast and southeast corner to increase pedestrian accessibility at this intersection.
So we've had a couple comments come into the chat box now. One says, thank you for adding this. That's related to the speed display board recommendation. And they're wondering if we know the dates that it will be installed.
We have a list of all of the speed display board installations that have been recommended through our neighborhood traffic review process. And this location will go on that list. There are a few locations, so hopefully we'll get it up this summer, but it depends how many locations we have.
Yes, yeah, we only have so many boards to go around, and there's a lot of MTR recommendations that include that that type of device. One other comment is that I think there is more speeding at night. So I don't know if we did an hour-by-hour breakdown, but we do pass the information over to police, right, Chelsea?
Yeah, we do. If we find that the speeds are quite high, we can send that information over to the police so that they can target their enforcement, so that they can be as effective as possible as well. Yeah.
And then follow-up question to that is, what times did you monitor speeds?
So our speed measurements go in for 7 days, 24 hours a day, usually. It'll be anywhere from 3 to 7 days, but I'm pretty confident that all of the Evergreen locations were 7-day counts. So that's from midnight to midnight every day. And then we like if we're in a school zone, we would take out those hours and analyze them separately since the speed limit is different during those hours. And we can look for trends within that data as well to see if there are specific times of day or days of week where there are issues.
Yeah, and we typically check the directions of travel as well, which is why the speed display board was facing westbound, because that's where we saw the higher speeds.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, Evergreen was a neighborhood where traffic calming was installed as part of the neighborhood development, and it appears that that was done really well at the time, and speeding is not a huge issue in Evergreen.
Another question has come in about the Evergreen and Zari recommendation. Will you restrict some parking as there are a lot of cars blocking the sidewalk?
I believe there is a parking restriction at Evergreen and Boulevard and Zari Road right now along the east side of the road, or the top of the T. And other than that, our traffic bylaw covers that no vehicle should be parked within 10 meters of an intersection. So if you do see vehicles encroaching on the crosswalks or on the intersection, you can also call parking enforcement. I have their number here somewhere. I think it's 975-8344. So we would probably keep the restrictions as they are currently. But if you're seeing an issue, we'll come and check it out and see if there's anything that can be done about it.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, because he did follow up with it's at the intersection. So I'm not sure if you can follow up with us. Like Chelsea said, there are parking restrictions on the east side, but I'm not sure if that's the same corner that he's seeing the issue. Maybe he's seeing it more on the Zari Road side. Yeah, it says there are often cars right up to the intersection. Someone else has followed up with that same comment.
Okay.
And there is parking. Someone else says there's parking problems throughout Evergreen.
Yeah, we did hear comments about parking at a few different locations, and we performed some site visits to check it out. And for the most part, people were parked outside of that 10-meter zone. So I'm not sure, maybe we just weren't there at the right time of day to see it. We kind of tried to stagger our visits.
Yeah, so they have followed up. It is the top of the T, and that its visibility is poor on the Evergreen Boulevard side. So it sounds like they would like the restriction to be a little bit longer than what it is currently.
Okay, yeah, I can look at that.
Yeah, we'll follow up on that one to see how it looks.
Okay. Is there anything else coming in the chat at the moment?
Not quite yet.
Okay.
Maybe while we wait, did we want to give them? You already talked about the RFB.
Yeah, I can continue on to the next steps and then see if anything else comes in.
Sure. Yeah, if there's any questions on one of the ones we've presented or something else that you'd like to bring forward, please just put it in the chat and I'll monitor. Oh, here a couple came in. One says there is not enough parking space for this area.
I'm guessing that's about.
I think that's general for the neighborhood, that there's just so much parking demand and not enough on-street parking, sounds like maybe.
Yeah, we did hear from a few residents that on-street parking is pretty busy in Evergreen. Unfortunately, there's not a lot that we can do about that through the neighborhood traffic review. All of the streets in Evergreen have street parking, so.
The next question is, do you plan to add blinking lights at the crosswalks in front on the schools on Manic Road? So I think that's probably close to where you recommended the stop sign there. Glacial Shores, maybe?
Yeah, I can give a general answer to that, I think. We do have a flashing crosswalk light along Manic Road, and it connects to where the green overpass is with a pedestrian network. In school zones, we typically mark zebra crosswalks to increase the visibility of the crossings, and we don't always place higher what's the word I'm looking for, devices in front of schools. Schools often also have other programs where they have teachers out, parents out to help with crossing. So we work with the schools to make sure that we have their needs accommodated.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if if it's about the Glacial Shores location in particular. There are curb extensions there, which is why activated device is not warranted. So we are recommending a stop sign for Glacial Shores because we had heard from residents that turning vehicles weren't always paying attention to the crosswalk. Not sure if that answered your question. Hopefully that did.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Nothing else has come up yet.
Okay. Well, I'll start to talk about next steps, and everyone can feel free to continue to type into the chat box as questions arise about any location within Evergreen. So the next step in stage 3 of the neighborhood traffic review process will be to collect feedback on these recommendations. And the comment period will be open until April 2nd. Once the comment period ends, we'll finalize the traffic plan and prepare a report to present to the Standing Policy Committee on Transportation. The next stage of the process involves the implementation of the traffic plan, which includes the preparation of plans and installation of the recommendations. Signage and pavement markings and temporary traffic calming measures are typically installed within a year after presenting the report. The evaluation stage includes the follow-up assessments to determine the effectiveness of the temporary traffic calming measures. Traffic calming measures that are deemed effective will be scheduled for permanent installation as funding allows. Traffic calming measures that are deemed ineffective will be modified or removed. So this stage is dependent on stage 4 and will be scheduled to begin 1 year after the temporary traffic calming measures are installed, so we can ascertain the effectiveness of the measures in all seasons.
Okay, so there's been another question come in via the chat. Do you know what the traffic flow over the potential development across from the school's parking lot will be? So where the new speed display board is suggested. There's some rumblings that the entrance to their parking lot will be on Evergreen Boulevard near the entrance to the school staff parking lot and the city bus stop. Any insights there?
I'm just trying to pull up where they're talking about.
So it's right near the roundabout, just to the west of the roundabout on the north side, that corner lot, I think.
Oh, I am not sure offhand what the development is supposed to be.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything about that development application. We can check with our colleagues to see if they know more. That's all that's in the chat for now.
Okay.
Where you want to, go over how they can contact us?
Yeah, so feel free to reach out to me if you can think of any additional questions, comments, or concerns. We'll post the meeting materials from tonight onto the Engage page, and we encourage you to share the information with your neighbors so that they can also have an opportunity to participate. As Natalie mentioned earlier, we have multiple methods for submitting comments. You can post directly on the saskatoon.ca Engage page. You can subscribe for updates at saskatoon.ca/NTR. You can use the Report a Traffic Issue app. You can give me a phone call at 306-975-2483. You can also email me to chelsea.lanning@saskatoon.ca, or you can mail in a letter to City Hall addressed to me, Chelsea. All of these details are shown on the screen, and you can also visit saskatoon.ca/engage, and all of this information will be on there as well. I think we were able to get to everyone's comments tonight, luckily. So if you have any additional questions that we're not able to answer, we will provide a response in the meeting minutes, and those will also be posted to the Engage page. The meeting recording will go up there as well within the next few days. We'd also like to get, sorry?
I was just going to say someone followed up on that school development on the north side of Evergreen Boulevard there, and they just said that would cause a significant traffic issue for the school if that driveway's on that side.
We'll keep that in mind when we're reviewing. We get to review the developments as they come in, so keep that in mind to look at. All right, so we'll have maybe Natalie post the link to our SurveyMonkey. We'd like to get your opinion on how tonight's online meeting went so that we can continue to improve our process. So if you could fill out the online survey, we'd really appreciate it. The link will be posted in the Q&A forum.
Yeah, I got that in.
Perfect. And yeah, I really want to thank you for taking the time to attend tonight. I really appreciate your participation, and it goes a long way in making a great plan when we have more and more input from the neighborhood. So it's very helpful to me to have you attend tonight, so thank you. If you have any other questions, you could continue to post them in the chat box. If not, then I guess I'll wish you a good night.
Yeah, there's nothing new in the chat now, so thanks everyone for your participation. We really appreciate it. So on behalf of the entire Neighborhood Traffic Review team and Councillor Jeffries, thanks so much for participating. We really appreciate your feedback. We couldn't complete these neighborhood traffic reviews without your input and participation. So thanks so much. Enjoy your evening, and we'll touch base soon. Take care.